Hey, what's up, guys? Chris here, and I'm back with another Q&A live. So feel free to hop on the live. Here's another Q&A. So as you read the title of the video, you're correct. It's exactly what you read in the title there. So now, does anyone have any questions on that? So anyway, the questions are about the alien encounter abduction experience trilogy story that had happened to me when I was about 12 years old or so. And anyway, if there's any questions on that, please feel free to ask, and I will answer them the best I can. I know I actually remembered the mic this time. I know, I thought I was actually going to forget it, like last time. Okay. Okay. Okay, I guess it wants to be like that. Okay. So now, yes, I did a live this morning, and I'm actually doing another live as of right now. Hi, welcome to the live. So now, does anyone have any questions about the about what this is actually about the alien encounter abduction experience story trilogy that I had happened when I was about 12 years old or so at the time? You can leave a comment or you can ask a question and I will answer it the best I know how. Hold on. Yes, I'm still here, by the way. Okay. So, looks like that thing is going to be difficult, of course. Now, does anyone have any questions about anything with the alien abduction encounter experience trilogy story that had happened to me when I was about 9 years old? Or 12 years old. Jesus. Good Lord. It was actually 12, not 9. Okay. Hi, welcome to the live. So, like I said, if anyone has any questions about that, about the title you actually read of what this video or what this live stream is actually about, feel free to ask those questions. Ask those questions now. Doesn't matter. Anyone? Question? Anyone have any? Does anyone have a question about that? Okay. Welcome to the live. So anyway, that alien encounter abduction experience trilogy story actually happened when I was about 12 years old at the time. What's your question? What's your question? Yes, I do. Okay. Go ahead and ask your question, and I will answer it. So this happened when I was about 12 years old at the time. There was this strange blue light looking thing that was staying perfectly still in the sky one night. And I didn't pay no mind to it at first. And then all of a sudden, that thing was still there for a couple hours. couple hours later, again, when I had looked at it, it was still up in the sky, literally staying still. Yeah, I know, the mic went out because I accidentally hit the button. Damn it. I think the sound should be back now. Keyword should be. So, a couple hours later, I had looked up at the sky again, and that blue light was literally there, still there, literally just staying completely still. No movement, no hesitation, no nothing. And then that's when, a little while later, that's when something very creepy had happened. These two aliens appeared right in my living room. They literally dragged me over into my kitchen area, towards the back door by where my kitchen table was at the time. They embedded this big blue deep stone into my foot. Was this a dream? No, actually, this was not a dream. I was actually fully awake when this actually happened. So they end up embedding this big blue stone into my foot, into my big toe, actually. And then they literally put me back on the couch like nothing had happened. I know, it was really weird, the whole thing. Well, then, the next morning, my big toe started hurting. And then all of a sudden, I happen to look, there's this thing I see in there, and I'm like, okay, what is this? So that big blue stone, we actually had to use tweezers to get it out of my big toe at the time. This big blue stone was quite deep, and it was huge. And that's actually how that got embedded into my foot, because of those two aliens. I mean, they didn't take me up on their ship or whatever. They just did what they had to do while dragging me into my kitchen area by the back door where the table was at the time. Okay, we got sound again. I gotta stop hitting the button on this mic, that's for sure. I lost sound. The sound should be back by now. That's because we lost sound. Because I hit the button again. So what they looked like was, they were actually white. Like, have you ever seen like white pale paint? Like white paint that looks like this really just a pale shade of it. They looked like this really white, this pale white with like these, I want to say their eyes looked like, it was the same silver you would see on a quarter. Their eyes, I'm not kidding you, were probably about, hold on. Their eyes were probably like that big. Oh, yeah. And I'm so sorry. I apologize again for losing sound. That's on me. This mic, when I go to clip it onto me, it doesn't exactly stay the way it's supposed to. So, 1 second, please. So, now, any more questions, anyone? Feel free to ask. I'm back. So, is there any questions, anyone? Please feel free to ask. Oh, that's how it loses sound. Okay. Because I should be holding it here instead of where I was. Okay. So, And there was two of them, by the way. And this happened in a mobile home trailer that I was living in at the time. That was actually a rental at the time. And then another weird thing was when I had seen them, I literally thought about making a run for it. But before I could make a run for it is when they actually literally dragged me off the couch. So therefore, I honestly had no time to even make a run for it. I couldn't do anything. Um, I'm not sure. Just slightly after they put me back on the couch, they were suddenly gone, and I had never seen them again after that. Then again, I did not want to see them again after that. That's for sure. Now, the funny thing is, alien abduction encounters do actually happen when you least expect it, or if you don't expect it to happen. I'm not saying that it's going to happen to everyone, but there are some people that those things do happen to. Then there's also some people that those things don't happen to. Um, Now, I want to ask a question here and see if. All right, so I'm just going to ask a random question. Now, anyone watching this, or any of my subscribers, or anyone that's watching this, this is actually real time. This is actually in real time. But my question now is, has think have you any of you watching this ever been abducted by aliens or any type of creepy, weird experiences? If so, you can share that. It's okay. And yes, it was very creepy at the time. And the funny thing is, the day actually started out normal like any other day. Here, we are in empty corridors where these creatures appear in different forms, most often as relates. The funny thing is, you're actually right about that. But like I said, the whole thing though was just very creepy. Oh yeah, they could literally. You would be surprised how they could actually appear. I could tell you that much. But I know some people are definitely afraid of those type of things, which I understand. I could understand why somebody would actually, or most people, or whoever would actually be afraid of that. I'm sure there are some people out there too where that's happened to that they don't talk about it, which is fine. I get that. Nobody saw UFOs. Really? You actually saw a UFO? No way. Well, I sort of kind of did because, and I'll tell you why. The day started out normal like any other day, and then later that night, as soon as it started getting dark, that's when I saw this weird blue light looking sky, this light up in the sky, this weird looking shaped thing, which might have been a UFO actually. That would explain the blue light that I had seen. And then a couple hours later, after it was dark, that blue light, weird shaped looking thing up in the sky was just staying completely still, which I also thought was odd. Now, I had lived in that home for about several more years, I had lived in that single wide trailer home at the time that was an older 1970s home. I had lived there for years before that even happened. And I lived there about 2 years after that had happened, and I ended up moving out of there. Hi. But far as I know, that mobile home, after I had moved out of there, that mobile home trailer had sat there for about another 20 years or so. Now, as of today, the current year, that place is no longer there. It's actually gone. It's just very overgrown as an update. Um, Based on the location, um, it was actually on a main road. So therefore, I want to say maybe. Only because the way that main road is, that type of area, part of that main road is part of that is like the countryside, and then the rest of that street is more like city. So if that answers your question. And it's actually not far from a remote area, actually. Or I guess it's part of it based on the way the location is and the way it's set up. Turkey in the World Cup. The fuck is that? Okay. Um. Well, it's just the funny thing is though the way that area is set up, it's kind of confusing the way that that area is actually set up. It's just one of those things, I guess, where like one side of the street is one thing, and then like the other side is like something different. But I guess that's just how it is, the setup. Yeah, it's kind of a very weird setup. But if you were from the area that I'm from, you could probably figure you could you could probably see why I say that the way the area is set up like that to answer your question is kind of confusing, like the way the area is actually set up. You would actually see why. Trust me. I have to set the mic down for 1 second. I'm so sorry about that. I apologize. So, and the funny thing is, when that blue stone, that big blue stone came out of my foot, that thing literally, um, was the same shade of blue as that light from the night before. Now, is that strange or is that strange? I'd say that's strange. Yes, thank you for understanding, actually. But the whole thing, though, was just so weird and just so creepy. It's like when it happens, when you're going to try to make a run for it, when you are literally being dragged by them and you cannot make a run for it, it's literally like your body just, it's like a flight or fright mode or how the hell ever that saying goes, if you know what I mean. It's almost like you're almost in like total shock, literally. And then like when you come back into reality, now mind you, this was winter time still at the time, and it was very cold. And I was actually watching TV one night. It was a later airing of Jeopardy when this happened. So I had the blanket, wrapped around me on the couch, and I had the lights on in the living room. just watching TV. 1 minute, I glance over by the door. They're not there. So then all of a sudden, a few minutes later, I glance back at the door, and then everything's great. Nothing's there. Then all of a sudden, there they were. So after that, when I was back on the couch like nothing had happened, I glanced by the door again, and nothing happened. Yeah, now that's strange, right? And the funny thing is, though, I wondered this for years after. Like, if that was meant to happen to me for a reason. I think it was, actually. I really do. Now, does anyone have a question about anything about that? Um, yeah, like I said, any questions will do about this. So, now, I also do want to say that there is actually a surprise that's also going to be on my YouTube channel of something that I'm going to be doing on my channel. I can't quite give it away yet, but if you look in my community tab thing about my channel or in the description somewhere, anywhere on my channel somewhere, it should tell you about what my channel is going to be doing soon. Yeah, and another thing that, I think I'm just going to throw this out there too. At the time, that older 1970s mobile home trailer that I had lived in at the time, that was a rental property when I was like 12. So I had moved in there when I was really young, even younger than that. I had lived there, I want to say I was maybe about, I think we moved in there when I was about, I want to say maybe 7 years old and had just turned 8, maybe, or it was either, yeah, it was, or I was 8. Although I think at the time, though, I was 7, then just turning 8 when we had moved in there. And then we had lived there. Or actually, no. No, I was 7 still at the time when we had moved in there. So then we had lived there up until I was 14. And then we moved out of there, thank God. But the funny thing is, so living there, at first, well, how would I say this? Like, the day we moved in there, those creatures were aliens, is what I think they were. So anyway, the day we had moved into that trailer at the time, um, we had just pulled in the driveway, and we walked in, we turned the lights on, and even when the lights on, it looked still kind of dark in there, and I was like, okay. At first, I thought, that's just how it was. That's what I thought at first. But I said, is that a red flag right there? Like sign 1, not to live there. So then, I mind you, this place was old and had a lot of issues. But, at first everything in it was functioning just normal and seemed fine. But then the place at one point started having some other issues. So then, supposedly it was fixed. And then I guess at some point living there, it started having issues again. Then Love and behold, that place had some really bad issues while we were living there. And then, like, another thing, this would happen at random. Like, when you'd walk down the hallway to, like, go to the bathroom area, it always felt like you were being watched after you'd walk past one of the bedrooms. Like, once after you'd walk past that bedroom, because the bathroom was down a little further, for some reason, it actually felt like you were being watched. Like you're being watched. Just like somebody was watching you, is what it always felt like. And then as I had got older, so one night I'm, on a computer, streaming some music, because, to see what I wanted to listen to. And, I was going to put some of those songs on a CD. And, I was going to, make one of those burnable music writable CDs to listen to some songs that I had gotten from online. And so one night, I'm in the process of getting the music ready for that. And I'm on the computer. All of a sudden, I literally thought somebody was standing behind me. I look, no one's there. I was like, okay. So I go back to doing my thing. A few minutes later, again, I look behind me. Still felt like somebody was standing there behind me. Thank you for knowing how I feel. Or knowing how that feeling of that. So then, another night in this place, all of a sudden, one night, the place ended up getting a little flooded because apparently one of the pipes broke, and then they all decided to break all at the same time. Oh, that was quite the process one night. Then, also, that place, before that issue had happened, there was the issue of the electrical panel would constantly have issues. Like, it was one of those old style electrical panels with those circle knobs. Oh, that thing. Ugh. Yes, eventually it was updated with a more modern and brand new one with breakers instead. The flippable kind. So anyway, so that was finally updated. So all of a sudden, every night around the same time, so the pipe issue, that was fixed, but there was lots of water that was unnecessary that was just there. So anyway, so the electrical panel was fixed, updated with flip breakers. So all of a sudden, next thing you know, every night around the same time, I would hear this very strange noise. Like, it sounded like someone had took a quarter and threw it at the electrical panel box that was in my bedroom at the time. And I was like, that's so weird. I would hear that noise, and then all of a sudden, the bedroom would lose power. So I'd get up, find my flashlight, turn that on, flip the breaker, to reset it, to get power back in the bedroom. And then sometimes it would work. It would let you reset it. Other times it would not work until the next morning, which is weird. Then that happened at one time where one night it would not work until the next morning. So the next morning I got up, flipped the power back on for that breaker for that bedroom. It worked, but it would not work that night. Then after that, every night around the same time, that breaker would just literally trip, and the bedroom would just lose power. So then, love and behold, after that would lose power every night. The electrician looked at it. He came back about 3 or 4 times, and every time it checked out fine. So the third time he was like, you know what, I'm just going to replace that breaker. So he replaced that breaker about 3 or 4 different times, and it was still having the same issue. So, and then it just got to the point where I was just so tired of that place that we literally had to end up moving out of there because things got bad. And I'm like, if this electrical panel was fixed and all updated with a brand new one with all new breakers, why is that breaker for that bedroom keep tripping like that? Okay, yeah, it was new, but maybe I don't know if it had something wrong with it. It was replaced a couple times and it still had an issue. So I could not figure that out. I don't know what was wrong there or what in the hell was going on with that. But needless to say, my ass literally got the hell up out of that place after a while, because we were just done with that place after we had moved out of there. We packed everything up, moved out, never went back. Now, other people had moved in there and had lived there since that. Now, I don't know if they had experienced any of the problems that I had had when I had lived there. Now, another night when I was living there before we had moved, I'm watching TV one night, and all of a sudden, I had the bedroom door slightly opened because I knew at some point I was going to have to get up and go to the bathroom. So, needless to say, I actually have the bedroom door slightly opened. So, all of a sudden, I hear out of nowhere, mind you, everybody else is asleep. I'm up watching TV in the bedroom, and I hear someone say, "Hey, turn off the TV." I look, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm looking around like, okay. I get up, I look around, nobody's there. So meantime, I go to the bathroom. So I come back in the bedroom, everything's fine. I close the bedroom door after that. So the next morning, I was like, hey, did someone walk past my bedroom last night, stand towards the door and say, hey, turn off the TV? Everybody said no. And I'm like, that's strange. Wow. That could not be explained. But there, like I said, there were a lot of things that had happened there. Strange things like that too. And all the other issues that place had. So I found this out. I did not know this, but years later, after I had moved out of there and other people had moved in, I had found this out. That place was actually built over an old cemetery, and I did not know that. When I lived there at the time, I did not know it. But let's just say I found that out years later. I said, wow, that's interesting. I said, I'm starting to wonder if that explained the majority of the problems and the evil of that place. I wondered that to this day, if that's half of what it was. But like I said, the strangest things would happen there. And like I said, so that, like I said, it just got to the point where I had to move because I couldn't deal with that anymore. Now, when we had moved far away, we did not have any of those problems at the place that we had ended up moving into at the time. That was another rental, obviously, but that was a trailer. It was a similar year to that one. I think like just the next year up, like a little newer for the time frame of it. So we ended up moving into a different one, into a park that was actually in a trailer park at the time. And we did not have any issues there with that trailer whatsoever. We didn't have any of the electrical issues. We didn't have any paranormal experience issues or none of those type of issues of the paranormal. We also did not have any of those alien issue abduction encounter experiences there. It didn't happen at that place. At place number 2 that we had moved into, or the second trailer. Just in that first trailer it happened, but not in the second one when we had moved into a park at that point. Yeah, there was a time before we had moved into that trailer park, we were just living in this trailer on a piece of land that someone owned that was up for rent at the time. But I guess lucky us that we ended up moving out of there and getting away from all that and never looked back. But the only reason we knew that the place was still there It's because sometimes we would drive by just to see if anybody was living there. Oh, sure enough, people had lived there for years after that. And I mean, we don't know if they experienced anything similar to what we did when we had lived there. We don't know. No one ever said. But that's the story on that. And now, is there any questions about that? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions about that mobile home trailer at the time that was a rental, where all those creepy things had happened? You are so right about that. I believe you. But, you know, I've lived in a lot of different places where some places I've lived that were actually haunted, obviously. I even lived in an apartment that was haunted. And I even lived in a double wide trailer once that was haunted. And I actually ended up living in a 2-story house one time that was actually haunted. So places being haunted is nothing new to me. I've had a lot of paranormal experiences throughout my life. And I kind of have a little family history with that too. Well, the the family history to that is attracted to some people more than others. You are so right about that. I agree with you 100%. Now, I have more to the story if you want to know how I kind of have a little bit of a family history with that. Well, I'll tell you, actually. Um, One of my, well, a family member, relative who's been gone for many years now, she had lived in this house one time that was for sale that used to be an old that at one time used to be a hotel and then ended up being converted into a whole house. And the place was quite old. It was like 300 years old from what she found out. And she said while she was living there, some strange, creepy, scary stuff happened. And come to find out, the house was built over an old Indian burial ground that she had lived in this house. So, come to find out, she said all these creepy things would happen, like, for example, the lights would go off by themselves at random. It was always cold in there sometimes. Electrical was weird in that place. And they always felt like they were being watched. And they saw some creepy things in that house. They even saw something that looked like the Grim Reaper in that house. They also even saw some other scary things in that house. And for some reason in that house, relatives of their relatives who had passed away prior to that would often come to visit after they had passed away. Then, there's more to this. There was also, my grandmother had told me this, that when the house that she used to live in, this house where all these creepy things had happened, she said the carpet in the bedroom would often change colors at random. Yeah, now that's creepy. But she said one day, eventually, she finally moved out of that house and someone else ended up moving in there. Now, mind you, the people who ended up moving in there, eventually, they didn't keep the house for very long. They lived there for a little bit. And then one night, or the time finally ended up coming to where, in the end, they actually had to burn the house down. And then the house ended up burning. The house did end up burning down. And that was it. And all the activity stopped. But now, for some reason, someone decided back when that house was an old hotel, that place was about 300 years old. Someone decided to build on that property over that Indian burial ground. That would explain some of the strange things. Sometimes some of those strange things to where what would happen is, my grandmother told me this too, that sometimes this old-fashioned car would just appear. Somebody would get out of it, walk up towards the front door, and then just disappear. It would always happen during the day in the afternoon. And then they would always hear a baby crying at night. So one day they decided to just have a look-see underneath the porch. They dug up underneath the front porch, and sure enough, they found the answer. Someone buried a baby on that property underneath the front porch. So that's why at night in that house, they would often always hear a baby crying. All the time, a baby would just be crying in that house, and they could never figure out where it was coming from until one day. Now, that's all strange, right? So I guess the happy ending that the house ended up burning down in a fire. So I guess that would be the happy reset. But see, that's the problem, though, when houses are about 300 years old or so. You never know what they're built over. The funny thing is, though, my grandmother was telling me that this house was huge on the inside. The rooms were massive. I said, yeah, because it was an old hotel. That's probably why the rooms were huge. She said it was literally like, instead of one bedroom being the size that most of them are in a regular house, she said some of those bedrooms were about 3 to 4 times the size. Some were even a little bit bigger. She said it was literally like almost 10 rooms into one. I was like, wow, that's interesting. Now, thank you for believing all this. I can't thank you enough. The funny thing is, a lot of people usually don't believe in this kind of stuff. Oh, I've had other relatives get mad at me for stuff like this. Because apparently they think that, oh, none of this stuff is real and that they're all skeptics. I mean, that's okay. I mean, I understand if they don't believe in it and why they wouldn't want to and why they would be skeptical. I get that. All I said to them, okay, there we go. The sound is back. Okay. Sorry about that. I can't believe I lost sound again. Because I hit the button again on the mic. Damn it. So anyway. I don't even know what I was even saying. I lost my train of thought. Wait, what? Hold on. I believe that place was used for sewer, which attracts. You know what? I thought that same thing. They won't believe you until they see it for their own eyes. Yes, that's true. That's exactly what happened. When I was saying to other relatives, about why they should believe in it, all I had said to them was, stuff like this does happen that is actually real. And they got mad at me for like no reason, for just saying a simple opinion. Apparently they didn't like my beliefs, but whatever. They don't like it, the hell with them. Honestly. But yet, it was okay for them to talk about stuff like that had happened to them. Now, is that a double standard or is that a double standard? And the funny thing is, though, I'm just waiting until they have some type of experience like that, to where something happens to them like that with that type of experience. And then I guarantee they'll start believing me. And then I will simply say to them, I told you so in the first place, and you did not want to believe me. If they had believed me in the first place, that whole thing would never have gotten out of hand like it did. Oh, well, they started getting bossy with me, literally almost started yelling at me. I literally could just not wait for them just to go away and just leave my house one day when they came to visit. But I thought to myself, fine, be that way, whatever. I mean, now, do you think that it's wrong that I'm kind of watching, waiting, and wanting something for them, or wanting them to have some type of experience to where something actually happens, and then all because they didn't believe me in the first place? Now, is that wrong of me? Because I don't really think it is, to be honest with you. I mean, I know where that could sound wrong, but it's all true. It's hard to believe there's so much truth to it. But then again, it was okay for them to talk about stuff that had happened to them like that. Oh, but the minute I talked about it, apparently it was a big issue. So yeah, I'm still not too happy about that. I just didn't like how they were with me about it. Thank you so much. I actually thought about looking into all that, of how to protect myself from evil spirits. The property that I currently live on now, believe it or not, the property that I'm currently living at now actually has a spirit. There's one that's actually friendly, an old woman. Then there's this one that's a man, very tall, taller than the trees outside. He's not very friendly, I can tell you that much. He actually literally pushed me over the winter. Literally pushed me one day when I was outside, just checking on some stuff. He literally pushed me to the point where I fell, and I could not get up for quite a while, and no one knew I had fell. I seen him out of the corner of my eye, and this is the second time I have encountered him. And I was quite pissed off when he pushed me. I could tell you that much. He did not need to push me, this evil spirit, one morning outside around 7 a.m. Oh, he couldn't wait to push me. He just did, just to be mean. And I haven't seen him since. I'm just so tired of encountering him. I wish he would just get off my property and go away. I wish he would just go away and never ever come back and stay off my property. I don't think he gets the concept of having to share the property. But anyway, thank you so much for actually joining me here on the live and to hang out like this. Also be sure to subscribe to my channel. It's Blastin' Works at youtube.com. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Also be sure to like the videos, share, comment, and subscribe. That way, so by doing all those things, it'll show YouTube's algorithm that you actually like the videos, and it'll push it to more people to see. And I do have a surprise actually coming for the channel soon. So not to worry. And I hope we can all hang out again here on the live stream. And I will see you all in the next live stream or any videos. I will see you all soon. Bye.